Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Wealth Building Wednesday, where we answer your money questions with style and grace. But first, before we get to the questions today, we have a little teaching. Hey everybody, it's JJ Conway. Just want to give you a precursor. As many of you know, every first Thursday, I do a 2 or 3 hour call where I answer your money questions, and we extract those calls and we post them to the podcast as the Wealth Building Wednesday calls, unless I have a special topic. What happened last month? Well, you'll hear about it, but I think the signal gets cut off. So basically what happened is my son had a football game and I didn't realize it was 2 hours away. And so we ended up doing the call driving back. So I'm going to admit up front, the sound quality isn't the best, but the questions were fun and people actually stayed on the line the whole time, even when I got a little bit of road rage. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. The next 2 Wealth Building Wednesdays are going to be me broadcasting live from my car with Dallas traffic. Y'all take care and enjoy.
This is going to be a fluid call. If you've got a question, jump in. Let me know that you're on the line. Otherwise, I may not know to stop talking and let you answer your questions. So say hello or JJ or hi or hey or something like that so I know you are there. For those of you who are new to Fireside Chat, this is my opportunity to answer your money questions with style and grace. Now, I will apologize, y'all. We are in the process of figuring out this whole mom thing, and now that I'm able to support my family and be home full time, thanks to my investment on the football game, let's go. 5 o'clock game. Plenty of time to be ready for Fireside Chat. No. That's a 5 o'clock game that was 2 hours away, and that doesn't even include the time to get little man some grub after he played so hard. So, if it sounds like I'm on the road while we're having our Fireside Chat, yes, we are on the road while I'm having my Fireside Chat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to poll the crowd. If there's anybody that's got a question, go ahead and speak up. Otherwise, I'm going to roll into my top 5 or 10 questions, however much we have time for. First question we're going to cover tonight is we are going to talk about college loans, okay? One of the most common questions I get is how can I pay off my college loans when I can barely afford to pay my bill? Now, before I answer this question about how to pay off your college loans, I want to remind everybody of my opinion about college loans. And don't worry, this isn't going to be a 20-minute rant. Although if you've been listening to me long enough, you know I can rant for about an hour on the evils of college loans. I feel college loans are the number one wealth siphoning method being applied to communities of color. Did you know that in the African American and Hispanic stats that have been posted for, I think it's Department of Labor, I will have to get this for you, but the stats that I saw a couple months ago show that African American wealth is declining from generation to generation, and Hispanic wealth is declining from generation to generation. Now, I will say I don't know if in that Hispanic category are they including Latin America, because Hispanic is not the same as Latin American or Latinx, right? I don't know the finer details of that stat, but I know one thing: they are the only 2 people groups in the entire United States of America that have declining wealth from generation to generation. Everybody else has increasing wealth from generation to generation and has had increasing wealth from generation to generation up till about 5 or 6 years ago. So you might ask yourself, in this age of tolerance and freedom, why is Hispanic and African American wealth declining from generation to generation? There are multiple factors, but the most common thread that you will see amongst these families that have risen up to middle class and their children are now in low class is the student loan. Student loans are not bankruptable. Student loans, if you get a privatized loan, they have let me repeat that, they have no regulation against them. There are no protections for your student if they get a non-federally backed student loan. And the federally backed student loans, I don't listen to secular music, but there's a funny song that says, I finally paid Sally Mae back. I tell you what, Even the government-backed student loans are insidious, y'all. It is sucking the wealth out of our Hispanic and African American communities. All right, I said this wasn't going to be a 20-minute rant, but even if you're not in one of those minority communities, let me tell you what student loans do. So your student graduates with $100,000 of student loan debt. Don't let it be in a career field like sociology or teaching where they are not going to make that money back for 10 years. And everybody says, oh, well, my kid's going to go and they're going to do the loan forgiveness program, and after 10 years of teaching in a Title I school, they're going to get that loan forgiven. Let me tell you how few people actually get that loan forgiven. Again, I'm on the road, y'all. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it's something like 0.001%. That means for every for every 10,000 people that apply for this 10 years, they've been working for 10 years under the extreme conditions of the kinds of locations you got to work in order to qualify. You know, your inner city, your underprivileged, fill in the blank with whatever the politically correct term is, all right? But basically, they're incentivizing people to go into these places to teach, go into these places to nurse, go into these places to do social work that nobody wants to do. That's why they're dangling the carrot in front of them. And out of every 10,000 people, one of them gets it forgiven. Those are not good odds for your kiddos, okay? So that's one issue. But now your kiddo graduates with $100,000 of debt, and kiddo B, whose family saved at 529, and they put $100 a month aside once the child was born, that child graduates debt-free. That child goes on to get a nice, modest job of $35,000 or $40,000 a year, and because they graduated debt-free, guess what? They can put all their extra money into investments. Whereas your child, who has the $100,000 of debt, if they make enough money to live off of, anything extra, the student loan payments kick in. So now your kiddo, instead of building wealth for the first 10, 15, 20 years of their adult, has a student loan. And don't let something devastating happen to them when they're 40. Because just as they're able to invest, just as they're able to start going buy their own home, just as they're able to finally do something, boom, life happens. And kiddo B over there, not only did they invest for themselves, but when they had kids, they put that $100 a month in the bank for their kids, and the cycle will repeat itself over and over. All right? So, okay, that wasn't a 20-minute rant. That was maybe only a 7-minute rant, 5-minute rant. Okay, I'm doing better. If you're in a position where you can't pay your student loans, then of course you're going to want to apply for deferrals and things like that. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I want to encourage you today to not play small. And what I mean by playing small is I know somebody who has one of the most brilliant business minds I've ever seen in all of Louisiana. And this person routinely connects and networks. She has an amazing product. This person could easily be high 6 figures, 7-figure business. But when I asked her what it was going to take her business to the next level, she said, oh, no. My income needs to stay below XYZ. I think it was like $52,000. I was like, what do you mean your income needs to stay below that? Your business mind is amazing, and your product is amazing. She told me if she makes more than that, her student loans are going to kick in, and that's why she's going to play small. Now, she didn't say play small, but that's what I heard. It's another way of keeping wealth from being generated in certain communities. And so if you're in the situation where you feel like every time you make a little bit of money, then somebody comes along and says, oh, now you got to pay your student loans. Oh, now you got to pay this. Oh, now you lose this benefit. Oh, now you lose that assistance. I want to encourage you to push anyhow. Because were my associate to push through in her business, okay, sure, the student loans would kick in. Yes, they would. But guess what? If you're making $200,000 a year, you can afford to pay back $90,000 of student loans. But see, we look at all these reasons to play small. So I want to encourage you, if indeed you have student loan debt, you feel like you cannot pay off your bills, then we want to sit down and look at your spend plan, and we want to prioritize your. When I say prioritize, what I mean is let's take a look at your bills. Let's explore whether or not you actually can afford or not afford your bills. I get a lot of people coming to me who tell me they can't afford to pay their bills, but they got money for this and they got money for that. Now, I'm not going to cast a value judgment on what you choose to spend money on. Now, y'all, any of you who've been with me since when we started building wealth together, like 6 or so years ago, you'll remember that I used to rant and rave against cable and satellite radio and all those forms of entertainment. And then I realized when I moved in with my husband, I'm like, I'm always ranting and raving about cable TV, but the man doesn't go out to the bar. The man doesn't waste money on a boat. The man doesn't do this or that. My Lord, let him have his cable TV. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean he can't have it. But see, he can pay his bills. So, we want to sit down and really evaluate. Can you pay your bills? Can you meet your commitments? Can you make some tweaks? Can you give up a little something now so that you can have more later? I like to say it's time to live an abnormal life now so you can live an abnormal life later. You say, oh, JJ, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. Let me tell you something. 11 years ago, I was $845,000 in debt. And I'm in the process of retiring from the military, and everybody's like, well, aren't you going to go get a job and go get a job? And I'm like, I don't have to go get a job. Now, of course, I want to work. I want to still empower communities and change lives. But let me tell you something. The reason we're doing this call via free conference call instead of Zoom is because I have the freedom and the flexibility to go to my son's football game. And you have been working for a long time, and you haven't had the benefits that you feel like you have worked so hard for. All I'm doing is telling you, make a few changes with me. Make a few little changes, and in 5 to 7 years, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're like, you know what? I was going to do this. I could go with these clients, but I don't like their attitude. I'm not going to take them. You could find yourself with the ability to do things for the benefit of your family and not just at the whim of whoever's going to pay you some money. See, if I don't want to take you as a client, I don't have to. If I don't want to work, I don't have to. And I appreciate all the family members who've been reaching out to me and been like, hey, if you need to get a job, here's a place to go. Hey, if you need to get a job, here's my friend. Hey, if you need to get a job, we're looking to hire. I appreciate all of that. But let me tell you what I appreciate even more. I appreciate that 11 years ago when I saw myself in all that debt, I didn't give up. And I determined in my heart that I was going to be debt-free. And today, I don't have to go get a job. And I want that for you. So when you don't have any money, that's the first thing. When you don't feel like you can pay your bills, that's the first thing I want to look at. Can you really not pay your bills, or is it going to hurt you to pay your bills? Because there are some people that genuinely cannot pay their bills. And if you genuinely cannot pay your bills, then I can show you how to get on a pro rata plan and calm down your creditors so that you don't have to get sued and taken to court and have judgments against you and have your wages garnished so that they can get their money out of you. I can show you how to do that. In all the years I've been doing this, I have only had one person who got taken to court, and he didn't follow my directions to a T. I told him to put and this is what I tell everybody, you put your budget in the letter, and he refused to do that. Well, when you don't show your creditors that you literally can't afford it, they think you're lying. And if they think you're lying, they're going to sue you. So, anyway, in 20 years, just one person, I'm all right with that. But I have not had anybody who does what I teach who actually did it the way I teach it. I have not had anybody had to go into bankruptcy, and I've not had any of those people get taken to court. That's what we would do. Now, let's step it up a little bit, okay? So if you feel like you can't pay your bills, how are you going to pay off these student loans? We're going to get you on a plan to pay down your debt, and we're going to include student loans in the debt. I don't care if you're 7 years into a teaching at a Title I school or some other thing where in 10 years you get your forgiveness. If they come back and forgive it, great. But I'm telling you, 0.001% of people who apply, who meet all the requirements, actually get it. You know, it's like the Louisiana TOPS program. They promise you free school, but they hardly ever fund it the way they're supposed to. So people don't really get the free school, but everybody brags about having the program. Don't put your hopes on anybody else. You need to put your hopes on you, because you are the only person you can control. You are the only person who you can control. You can't control anybody else. People come to me and they say, well, how can I get my spouse to get on board with me paying down debt? You can't make another human being do anything unless they're a child or incompetent. And by incompetent, I mean you have paperwork that proves you're their guardian. I joke with my kids, you are not grown until you have your own house, buy your own food, and buy your own toilet paper. Okay? I can make my kids do what they want, or I don't have to pay for their stuff. Y'all can ask my teenager about that. He's in the car with me. That's why I'm laughing. When it comes to life, the only person you can control is you, and the only money you can control is yours. And if you have an income, you can control it. Your income is your number one wealth-building asset. And the reason people call me the queen of cash flow is because I help people free up cash so they can achieve their dreams. I love it when people ask me that question because people feel like it's hopeless, like I'm never going to get out from under the sink. Look, if I can get out of $800,000 of debt, you can get out of anything. And it took me a lot longer than it can take you because for the first 2 years, I refused to pay down all my ex-husband's stuff that he ran up with the property. I chalked that up to property debt. It wasn't my fault, wasn't my problem. And then actually it was more than 2 years. I think it was like 3 or 4 years. And I was like, you know what? I keep waiting for these properties to appreciate so I can sell them and not have to get out of the rest of the debt. I paid off all the consumer debt. You know, I hustled and got rid of all that. But all the 125% loans and stuff against our properties, I was like, that's him. That wasn't me. But, you know, at some point in your life, you have to take responsibility for your life. And I may not have been the one that ran up all that debt, but I didn't protect myself against it happening. After the first time that it happened, I should have took protective measures, and I didn't. And there's a lot of us that use excuse after excuse after excuse, but we didn't do our own part. You know, that's something that I've been learning and realizing. And I feel a little awkward saying this because his son is sitting next to me. But the thing is it's so easy all those years to blame him for his role in what happened in my life. But I didn't blame myself for my role. And until I took responsibility for my role, I couldn't fix the problem, and I couldn't turn my life around. And I'm encouraging you today, I don't know what brought you to where you are, but you got a choice to make. And that choice today is, are you going to fight for your future? Are you going to fight for your family? Are you going to fight for financial freedom? Or are you going to end up eating dog food in a state-assisted nursing home because you got nothing? Are you going to end up old and alone like I was afraid of for so many years because you haven't built the relationships you need to have people in your life that actually care about you? I'm probably getting a little personal right now, but you know, wealth building isn't just about money in the bank. We're not just trying to get rich. Don't get me wrong. The more of us that are rich, the more communities we can change. I'm about helping people have an abundant life. And an abundant life means you have the money you need to take care of yourself in your old age. Abundant life means you have the relationships that uplift and encourage you. Abundant life means you have the health and strength to enjoy your golden years, to enjoy the fruit of your retirement, to enjoy your grandkids. When I was laying in that emergency room and my brain couldn't form sentences, y'all, I realized I had been chasing all my life after the wrong thing. And I'm thankful for my level of wealth that I have attained that has allowed me to pay out of pocket for what my insurance didn't cover. and have the savings to make up for what I couldn't bring in for income. I'm thankful for that. But I'm going to tell you something. If I hadn't had that, and if I hadn't recovered as much as I did, what would I have had? For all my hard work and all my blood, sweat, and tears, what would I have had? And what I want to help you avoid is getting to the end of your life, or getting to the end of your strength, or being in a position where your mind doesn't work the way it should, or being in a position where your legs don't work like it should, and you have nothing to show for it and nothing to make your life easier. I realized that day when I was in the hospital, and I couldn't even form basic sentences, and I couldn't even answer basic questions. I realized that there is more to life than money in the bank. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm thankful for the savings I had, because that is what allowed me and my family to continue our way of life. But far too many of us won't take advantage of the strength, the time, the energy, the resources we have now to make sure we have a better future, to make sure we can retire with dignity, to make sure that our most impactful years can be impactful. I don't want to be an old woman facing the TV for 18 hours a day because I don't have any mobility and I don't have any mental strength and I don't have anything that I can do in society. I don't want to be that person. And I don't want that for you. When it comes to your financial journey, let me see how I want to say that. Here's my desire for your financial journey. The very first level of financial freedom that I want you to have. I want you to have freedom of choice. And what I mean by freedom of choice is I want you to be able to choose how you earn your income. I will never forget my very first check as a real estate agent, who was also military. So they call that dual career. You have one career, and on the side you're doing real estate. Sometimes it's not on the side. I mean, sometimes you spend more time doing real estate than you do your day job, but you're not a full-time agent is basically what that means. Okay. So I remember the very first day I got a check for real estate. And that one check from that one deal, which was a small town home in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, it wasn't even a very expensive town home. But that one, they're trying to pass me. Good, I'll follow them. I'll follow them at the speed limit, or what I know the cops will let me go. I remember when they installed the cameras on I-95, I-295, and he said, look, I don't want to hear any complaining about these cameras. We have calibrated the cameras to go off at 10 miles over the speed limit. We give you 9. I don't want to hear any complaining if you get a ticket. Anyway, so the very first thing I want for you is to have a choice. When I received that first check, that first real estate check was equivalent to my military paycheck, my military monthly paycheck, including the extra money that they pay you to live in a high expensive area like D.C. So when you're in the military, you move around, they pay you a housing allowance so that you can live in accordance to your rank wherever you're stationed. And so if you live in an expensive area like D.C., I think my allowance back then was like, sorry, y'all. I was going behind the fast guy, and I got stuck by a slowpoke. The Lord must not want me to go fast today. He wants me to go under the speed limit today, because we are going 10 miles under, and I cannot stand it. I'm like, if you know you're going slow, you should pull over and let me in. I'm sorry. I get irritated when people are below the speed limit. And this person was not only going below the speed limit, but they blocked me from being able to pass them in the passing lane. Like, if you know you're going slow, just let people pass you. Come on now. It's not like I'm going 200 miles an hour and you're trying to stop me. I mean, I know people who've done that. Like, they'll ride side by side so they can block everybody going. Anyway, let me get back to my money story, because that's what y'all came to listen to. You didn't come to listen to me gripe about the drivers. In the military, when you move from place to place to place, they give you an extra amount of money. And so to make sure that you can live commensurate with your rank. So if you live in an expensive area like D.C., they pay you a lot of extra. That very first real estate check, y'all, the very first real estate check on a small townhome in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, that commission was equivalent to my monthly military check as a major back then. That's what my rank was back then in the Air Force with D.C. locality pay. I was floored. And it was the first time in my life that I realized I don't have to go to this job if I don't want to go to this job. And I made up my mind then. I think I was maybe 2007. So I was exactly 10 years in the military, halfway to what I needed for a military retirement. But I made up my mind right then. I was not going to do this job anymore if it wasn't fun. Because I don't have to do this job ever again if I don't want to. And that's my first step for you in your financial freedom journey. I want to help open up options for you so that you have freedom of choice.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe at jjconway.org. Now go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.